Triple Shot Mindset.
You said something about people being afraid of being successful.
Yes.
And that scratched me where I itch.
Oh.
Woo!
That's what we like to hear.
I remember Kevin and I used to have dreams and ambitions of becoming multi-millionaires. We still do. However...
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm, I do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. However, we're not willing to give everything.
Ooh.
And I think there's a lot of guilt involved to giving your all to something for the next year or so. Working from 6 a.m. to 10 o'clock at night. Not seeing your kids, not being there for your kids. And I think the reason a lot of people, they jump on building a career early on in their lives, I mean, you're past that. Obviously, you're 30, 31.
Yeah.
They do it in their 20s is because they don't have a wife, they don't have a life, they don't have kids, they don't have any of those obligations.
I don't have any of those obligations.
Yeah. And, but they do have the energy.
Damn it.
The energy. And so one time I went to a seminar with a friend, just call her a friend. And the guy who was speaking, he was talking about, what are you willing to do? And he asked the question that, if I give you $1 million today, would you be happy? And everyone's like, yeah, I would be happy. But what if that meant that tomorrow morning you won't wake up? Oh, no, I do want to wake up. So waking up is more valuable than $1 million, right? What if I give you $1 million or $10 million and you wouldn't see your son anymore? Well, fuck that. I don't care. So he went down this whole thing that said your connections are more important than money. And at one point in your life, probably in your mid-30s, once you're hitched, once you have a kid, once you have all that, you will put those ahead of immersing yourself into a career that will make you a lot of money. And the people who have a lot of money, they started their career right out of high school or college, and they worked on it, or they had a partner that was able to somehow supplement that kind of lifestyle. So he was picking on people to ask questions of, and he picked on me because I was the shyest. Obviously, I'm like, oh God, don't talk to me. I don't want to be. And he asked me, he's like, why don't you want to be successful? Because obviously everyone there was like striving to be successful. And a few questions he was asking, like I was raising my hand. And he said, are you afraid of being successful? I'm like, I kind of am. Why? Because I saw my uncle, my aunt's husband in Kentucky. He was a multimillionaire. And
I know his name.
Yeah. And when I looked at his life, yeah, he had a Learjet. Good for him. He had a nice house. Great. He had multiple houses. But what he didn't have was connections to people. Even to his wife. They slept in separate bedrooms. He didn't have a uncle figure kind of a vibe because he was always concerned about his portfolio, his meetings. And so he died at age 63 or 4. Yeah, he was young. And don't go there. Come on.
I wasn't going to say anything. I just thought it.
Okay. And I always thought to myself, would I rather have his life financially, or would I rather have my life, which, yeah, financially is not bad, but I have the kids I have. And they didn't have kids, by the way, because he was very busy working. And so somehow deep down, I associated being successful with having to give up on family time.
I tell you what, I never had that fear. Never. To me, it was, and I still do it. I think I have a good work ethic. I wake up in the morning, already know what I have to do today, what I have to do to not just finish my tasks, but do more so that I can reach something better and bigger. I work till late at night, and the idea of, oh, I have to choose has never been there for me, because I know, like, family, you have to have family time. You can't just say, you know what, I'm not going to see my kids for 2 weeks, or screw it, I'm not going to put them to bed for the next 6 months. You can't live like that. Like, that's a very shallow life to live. Even if you had billions of dollars, you would die lonely. But I think I've never had that fear. So when people say, oh, you have a fear deep down, there's a fear of you being successful. No, bring it on.
Good for you. I think one of the reasons me and you differ is because you have your kid and wife live in the same house. And I think the past 2 years since I've been divorced, I don't have my kids half the time. So me going to pick them up from school is much more important than me finishing a task on a task board, right? Me tucking them in is more important than staying at the office and talking to Vietnam, because I don't have them half the time. And the half the time I do have, half of that they're in school, the other half they're sleeping. So it honestly leaves me with like 3 hours a day to see them every other week. So for me, I have to choose. Okay, do I want to live a life that I'm making a lot of money and I'm sacrificing picking them up from school, or for you, she sleeps in the same house as you do, like a door away. She can at any moment come down. She says, hey, Daddy, let's play. Put down your computer for a minute. But I don't have that. And also I have to find a next version of the woman that I need to be with. So that all cuts into, so I have to prioritize, yes, I need to be successful. I need to make money because that's what makes my world go round. It pays for my kids' college education or whatever. But deep down, I kind of fear if I went down the typical entrepreneur's lifestyle, that they live and breathe and whatever they're working, they sleep on the sofa here. And there's days that they don't shower, they don't go home to say hi to their family. And one day they get a phone call from their mom that, Dad just passed away. Like, I don't want to live that life.
Nobody does. And I don't, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the question of, are you afraid of success? Even like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I think you were answering the question, not today's Ardavan, but the version of you like 10 years ago when our uncle was, or 20 years ago when he was still alive. And we would look at him like, wow, he's way too busy to have a life. But in a way that looked to me, because he had so many material things, all things aside, to me that was like, wow, I want to do that too. And that's why we started this business, because of his inspiration.
Yeah, I think
I don't think I'm afraid of success, but I'm afraid of what I have to give up to be successful.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't mind being successful. Like, I would love to be successful and
so it's not a fear of success, it's a fear of what you have to give up to be successful.
Eventually, that's what it boils down to. And I don't know if I'm willing to give up all that.
No, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because wealth is in the kids that we have.
100%. That's so when I started this convo with my with the example of the uncle, I think when we used to go to Kentucky to visit him, you used to see him like very intense, just like,
hello.
And that was his connection. And later on in life, we learned that me and Kevin were his favorite nephews. Like, really? We were? Because the way that he approached us, the connection he had with us, you couldn't tell, like, oh, we're just a intruder in his house. Quickly, let's make this weekend work so we can get out of here. If he could probably come back, he would say, I don't need a Learjet. I don't need this. I don't need that. And I've talked to other people, not about success, but about other things in life. And they'd rather have a life that is balanced with connections with people and living every day to make memories versus having a 10-carat ring on their finger. with a wrong guy, or having all the money in the world but not having your kids around. And we all know people who are career-oriented, moms or dads, and they miss out on soccer games. Yeah, they don't want to, but they have to choose. Yeah. So again, it's not, now that Kevin says, it's not a fear of success, but fear of what you have to give up. And I don't think I'm going to give any of those up, because to me, those are the real assets I have in my life. My kids, my sanity, my time off to go walk in nature. And I don't want to give that up. And so the other thing I was going to talk to you guys about, okay, is again, it's about the uncle.
Should we give him a name? Not his real name, though. Let's call him Jay. No.
Willie.
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 I can't imagine my uncle being called Willie.
Yeah.
I can.
Okay.
Or just DJ.
DJ.
I'm glad you didn't choose the real initials.
Well, now okay, BJ. Let's go with BJ, okay? Well, his initials were BJ.
I know.
Okay, so we try to avoid that. But okay, now that you alluded to, it is not DJ, but good try. Yeah. BJ.
So, like he taught us a lot. He said, if you guys want something, you have to go after it. Many life lessons we learned from him. I think the only one time that I thought I'm closer to him was one time he came to Irvine and he wanted to have a beer with me. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? But it was his inspiration to start this business. It was his inspiration to...
He inspired us to start this business.
Yeah, what did I say?
It was his inspiration.
No, God, what am I talking about? He inspired us to start this business. He inspired us to want to become weathermen, right? Because at one point he said, go do whatever you want to do. What do you care about what your parents think? And I think a lot of people get stuck in living a life for someone else.
Absolutely.
And when he told us that, and he said, what do you guys want to do? We're like, computer science. He's like, do you really like that? We're like, no. He's like, why don't you then change your major? But my mom and dad, is like, your mom and dad want that for themselves. They don't want it for you. You do what you want to do. So that's why him and I became weathermen, of all things, and designers, because he had a talk with me. And he said, don't be someone's, bitch or puppet. Just because they didn't live that life, they couldn't live that life, they didn't have the guts to live that life, doesn't mean, like, if they want to become engineers, send them to school. Hey, dad, go to school, become an engineer. Hey, mom, go become. So I realized you have to live for yourself. You can't live for other people. And when you're true to yourself, I think success comes in different forms.
I was going to say, success is not, in my mind, is not money.
Yeah.
It's not. Yes, it's a means to be able to buy stuff if you have a lot of money. Yes, but buying stuff doesn't buy anything that truly makes you happy.
Yeah.
So to me, success is my kid. My parents are still here. My brother's here. I have a nice wife. I have good friends. I have a business. I do what I love. I think that's in itself, that's success. Now, everything else on top of that, that's just cherries.
Nice.
Cherries, like the cherry pie.
Yeah, I like the cherry on top of the...
Yeah. And so people get married to someone because it fills the check marks of their parents, right? People go into business because it fills the check marks of their parents or their friends or something else. And I think we were lucky enough to have BJ, let's just call him that.
That's his real name. You don't have to do this.
I'm trying to lose, anyway. I think we were lucky to have come across him when we did, because that was a pivotal moment in our life that we were trying to decide, is this really what we want to do? Like, what would dad think? Because he's paying for this semester of our education.
But at some point we start paying for ourselves.
Yeah, we're like, we're going to
because like,
start.
that was our aha moment. Like if he's paying for, I don't know, $1,000 this unit or whatever the heck it was, we said, you know, we pay for it ourselves and we do what we want.
Yeah.
So we start paying for college.
No longer does he have the power to tell us, do this because I'm paying for it. No, we're like, we're willing to go into debt to do what we want to do. And I think that would be my idea of success, of not giving up yourself and your identity and going to doing something that you like. We talked about the previous show. We talked about your soul, being true to your soul and not have every ego and everyone's opinions sway you.
Sway you. Yes.
Sway you.
Yeah.
What are you doing with that microphone? You're fumbling it around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's loose.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So are you doing what
Just
you like to do
demonstrating.
in life? That's my question for you.
Mm.
Are you on your path?
I think about that every day.
And the answer is yes, you are. Because you're here with us.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you. And Kevin loves to answer for
My
you.
my
because-
mom always said, well, our mom.
Life is like a...
No. A few years ago, she told me, son, you are very successful. And I said, no, Mom, I'm not, because I got debt and I've got, you know, this mortgage I have to pay off and business is up and down. She said, no, you're very successful. I said, oh, because you're my mom and you love me and that's why you say I'm handsome, I'm successful, but I'm not. She said, no, you idiot, you are. Look at all the blessings you have around you. There are people in this world who would love to have these blessings. There are people in this world that cannot have a child, yet you have one. In his case, you have two. There are people
in this case, you may have multiple you don't know about.
you don't know about.
So many.
You are successful because you are doing what you love to do. You go to work with a smile, you come home with a smile. Yes, you're going to have some stressful days, but you're smiling because you're doing something that makes your soul happy. So you are successful. And that's, to me, that's the definition of success.
And what about you?
I love that. Bravo.
That's
Bravo.
mama. That's mama.
Mama.
What about me?
Well, we just talked about this whole thing for the past
16 minutes?
16 minutes and 44 minutes, seconds. What do you have to say about all this?
Well,
Like, you remember in the last show you said, people say you're afraid of success. I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
Elaborate.
I think... Thank you, by the way, for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
You guys just tied it all in together so beautifully. I think for me, it's... if I could... I would hack this whole session if I went on a speech about the things I've realized in the last year, 2 years of my life. I feel like when I met you, we were both kind of going through a crisis in our own way. Yours is definitely much larger than mine. And
Listen, a dog is just as important as any.
not just the dog, but the fact that I was moving into a home where I thought I was going to have family and friends, and it ended up just being me in an isolation tank, unable to really have many people, anyone. And that, and then obviously turning 30, which wasn't a big deal for me. I mean, on paper, I know it's like, whoa, 30. But you do think, like, what have I accomplished so far?
Yeah.
Like, I've reached a point. Let's look backwards and let's look forwards and let's see where we're going. So when I think about success and what it means to me, like your wise mama said, I think success is a day-to-day thing. At the end of a day, I know it was a successful day if I go to sleep with a smile on my face. And that's most of the time these days. I feel like...
So many things I can go say
yeah,
to
there's
that.
okay, maybe let's just, before we even get to the bedroom area, if I'm winding down and I know that I'm happy, then I think that's a successful day.
Yeah.
And I think a successful life is made up of successful days. So I don't necessarily define it as success, but when I think of what I'm capable of as far as talent and insights and what I have to give to the world, I am constantly reminded that I'm not meeting that to any degree. And there's no reason why I shouldn't, because I have no one and nothing. I have no one to be accountable to. I don't live with my parents or anybody. I don't have a lover. My friends will be my friends no matter whether I turn to questionable career or if I, choose to travel the world or go to an ashram in India. Like, so the world is my oyster in a way, and as we talked about in a previous episode, that's a dangerous thing because having too many options is also a problem.
Yeah.
So for me, it's all about getting grounded and deciding how uncomfortable am I willing to make myself? Because what I am afraid of is discomfort. And I don't know if you saw my Instagram yesterday. I posted something that said, the cave you fear holds the treasure you seek. Yeah. And I was like, damn, that's true for me because everything that I fear is getting out of my comfort zone. So if I can find a way this year to challenge myself and get out of my comfort zone, I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to report back and tell you guys what I did.
Well, I think one of the things that we've been talking about is going to Vietnams, right?
Apostrophe Nam.
Imagine being on a 22-hour flight that you've never done before. What's the longest you've been on a flight? 4 hours, 4.5 hours to Florida to see the Cubano family.
Cubanos.
Imagine being on a plane 4.5 times that. Being in a country that you have no idea what the rule of the land is, what everyone's saying, what their traditions and cultures and legal stuff are. Like imagine being plopped into that and then coming out of it from the other side. It's like, wow, I did this.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
I think that would be an amazing experience. To hear you say that, knowing what I know.
Well,
I think that would be amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah. So I think my outlook on life since a divorce is that I want to do something that's out of my comfort zone every time I get a chance to. So every time something comes up for me that I usually say no, let me think about it, I just say yes.
Nice.
Right? So one of my friends, she said, would you like to come to my house for Valentine's Day? Yes. Right? I was going to say, let me think about it and like find an excuse to get out of it. Not for any other reason, just because I'm introverted.
Yeah.
But I said, yep. And then later on, I'm like, wow, I said yes to that.
Yep.
Or Kevin said, go to Vietnam with me. I'm like, yep. He's like, you will? I'm like, yeah. Shoot, I just said yes. So I think if you change a lot of your maybes and let me think about it to yeses, you will live a fulfilled life.
And that's also a successful mindset because you do things outside of your comfort zone for the betterment of you.
Yeah. So my ex said, would you want to talk to like 100 chiropractors in person in the city of Orange in March? I'm like, yeah. She's
That's
like,
this year?
Yeah, it's in like 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
I even have no idea what I'm going to talk about.
Nice.
But
I'll drive you.
I better double check the date.
I'll record. Yeah, better not be the 18th.
18th. But I said yes. And now I'm getting her emails like, hey, coaches. I'm a coach apparently.
Yep.
Hey, coaches, it's 3 weeks away. It's 2 weeks away. Have your PowerPoints ready. I'm like, holy crap. I'm getting on a stage talking to 100 chiropractors. Whereas I would have usually said no.
Yeah.
So I think that's, for me, success is not only just like, you know, having a kid or having a good relationship with them and with my friends and at work, but I think saying yes to things that will enrich your spirit. And I think to me that is success. So it doesn't have to be a house on top of, you know, Shady Canyon, although I wouldn't say no to that.
Yeah. You'd say yes.
It doesn't have to be that Bentley you're talking about with the bumper sticker.
That says you don't put a bumper sticker on a dash and then the logo.
Yes.
I'm going to make that happen. Don't question it. Just wait for it.
Yeah. I think it's doing things and making connections that you would have never done under the status quo of your comfortable, miserable life. Not you, just in general.
Yeah.
And I had one of those comfortable, miserable lives. And I didn't know if it was miserable or not.
Yep.
But when you take yourself out of it, this is nothing against my ex-wife or the decision of being married or the decision of having kids or having a white picket fence and all that stuff. It's just when you detach yourself from the status quo, you realize that how much society has pushed you into certain things to put a check mark next to, oh, white picket fence, bing, husband or wife, bing, kids, bing. Whereas your soul, I'm sure, I mean, those things brought me happiness, don't get me wrong, but I think my soul is here to experience things and connect versus live in a big house.
And that is true wealth. Money, it just means to buy something. I remember before we go away from the subject, years ago, a lady came to my house. She was a cleaner, and she was
What's her name?
Claudia.
Claudia.
And she was always happy. Always happy. Like she would come with a bucket and the broom and everything, and she's always smiling. And sometimes I would say, "Hey, Claudia, you look happy today." She's like, "Of course, because I'm very successful." And I told myself, "Wow, good for you, man. Like, how many people you got working for you?" She's like, No. She brought her phone. She has 4 kids. Like, look at these kids.
Yeah.
This is my wealth.
Yeah.
I have to be happy because I got everything.
Yeah.
And so from that point, I'm like, my God, this lady's happy going to mop a floor and, work. She would work 4 hours for $70, but I would give her a lot more because I felt bad. But the attitude was successful. I thought it was business because I have the Western mindset or the wrong mindset at that point that, oh, money. When I realized that, wait a second, she's happy because she has 4 children and they're all healthy and happy.
Yeah. I had lunch with a very important person.
A VIP?
Yeah, you could say
A VIP.
VIP.
Yeah.
And this person has billions, billions. And we're having lunch with him, and I asked him what's his biggest regret in life. And he said not spending enough time with his kids that are now grown up. And he said, believe me, I like my $50 million house on Newport Coast. I love the cars I can buy, but I can never buy the time that I lost with my kids. And I don't want to give his identity away because like he also has a terminal disease. But he said this is a thing of, this happened to me probably because I was too stressed chasing the almighty dollar. And I could have been happy with 1/10 of that amount of money. But I pushed through and it becomes an addiction. And it becomes a way to compete with other millionaires and billionaires. So hearing it from him didn't tell me like it's okay to be a, whatever.
To not try.
Gonna try. But I think you have to put things in perspective and do just enough. I mean, I want to do enough to be comfortable. I don't want enough to get by. So I want to not only just get by, but I want to like do a lot more to leave a legacy for my kids. But I also don't want to miss out on taking them to a kid's birthday party on a Saturday because I have to be in Dallas to present a, friggin' project to some. And I've seen people around me who are dads who they tell me, wow, you're one of the only dads we know that shows up to every of these events for their kids. Yep. They themselves, they don't. Yep. And usually when I'm on a email blast from one of the parents, it's like 15 women and Ardavan, right? Yeah. And I take pride in that because I'm part of my kid's life. And I think the other 14 guys who are not on that email, they don't want to be on that email because they're busy working and trying to achieve what they think is success. And yes, you got to have the money. Yes, you got to make your life comfortable. You got to provide. I'm not saying that. I just think you have to know where to draw the line and say, if I achieve this much in terms of not wealth, but income or the kind of a lifestyle I want, even if you don't reach that, you have to put things in perspective because you can always make money, but you can always, you don't always have your kids. You can't always make kids again. And when I'm on these dating apps and 48-year-old women talk to me on the phone and say, I want to have a kid one day.
You're like, what day?
I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yesterday?
Like, yes, you're a model in, New York. Yes, you have a wellness studio. You're the owner and boss babe. But at 48, like, are you being serious? Like, is this a joke? Like, oh no, I want to have a kid, and whether it's artificially or whatever, I want to have a kid. And I think they're missing out on those chapters of their lives that they could have had it all.
Those are the people who say, oh, of course I can. Of course I can. No, I'll have time.
Yeah.
But then they realize that time goes by too fast.
Yeah.
and you can't devote all your time to chasing the mighty dollar, like you said, and competing with the Joneses when you can spend that time being healthy, spending time with family, raising your family, enjoying life.
Yeah. So BJ didn't have that. BJ didn't have the kids. He didn't have the connections.
I've said this. Oh, go ahead, please.
And I think that's the saddest part of his life, because I remember the last year of his life. He actually started calling us out of the blue. Hey, how are you guys doing? When are you guys coming here again? Like, he started to see that his life was
on the decline.
And he wanted to have those connections, but it was too late.
Someone very wise once said, "You can have everything, just not all at the same time." Earlier you said, house on the hill is nice, whatever, but I'd rather spend time with my kids. And if you talk to rich kids, which, having gone to the colloquially known as the University of Spoiled Children.
I'm sorry, what was that word again?
Colloquially.
What does that mean?
It means like casually known, or among the common folk. Like, it's not the official title, but we know it as the University of Spoiled Children. Talking to some of my classmates at USC, it's the University of Southern California, for those who
Trojans.
Don't take back my degree, please.
Very odd choice for a mascot. Trojan.
You know, not if you go to the school. It all makes sense once you go.
Yeah.
But when you talk to some of the kids, you realize that the kids who grew up with major assets, rich parents, their goal in life is now they're going to be looking for love and connection everywhere, because they did not typically get it from their parents, hardly ever. Then if you think about the school I went to before that, Cerritos College, which is a community college, if you talk to the kids there who have very strong familial ties, they're all looking for material wealth. So it's like, depending on what you get early on, it sets your trajectory. But either way, you're going to have to...
It sets your what?
Your trajectory.
Okay.
You're going to have to explore one of those realms. You're always going to have something in life that you're trying to get because you didn't get it right away. But whether you can have everything all at the same time is asking an awful lot. And maybe it's not realistic. Maybe maturity means there's a time and place for what I'm doing now, and then later there's going to be a time and place for something else, and I'm going to be okay with that. Instead of just trying to jam down everything that you possibly can down your own throat as fast as you can. Because why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Triple Shot Mindset.